I call April 2nd. I would have made it April 1st, but I didn't want to be April Fool's Day because then nobody would believe what I said. And they do believe me. April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day for America. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We've been ripped off on trade. We've been ripped off on military. We protect people, and they don't do anything for us. It's just so unfair for years and years. And now some of that money is going to be coming back to us in the form of tariffs. I mean, tens of billions. It's going to be numbers like nobody's ever seen. So,
2nd April is fast approaching, and with it comes a seismic shift in global trade dynamics. US President Donald Trump has made it clear US will start charging reciprocal tariffs from 2nd April. But how will this impact India, and how is India preparing to mitigate the fallout from the tariffs? Let's find out. For traders and economists, 2nd April is a dreaded date. This is when Trump's reciprocal tariffs will kick in. As he puts it, we will charge them whatever they charge us. Trump has long been vocal about India's tariffs on American goods. But during his first term, India managed to avoid the brunt of these tariffs. Now, that luck may be running out. In 2024, India exported $74 billion worth of goods to the United States. These tariffs could disrupt key sectors like pharmaceuticals, IT services, and textiles industries that heavily rely on the American market. India isn't sitting idle. To prepare for the tariffs, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a meeting with Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Reports suggest that India is considering a range of options to mitigate the impact. One of those options? A potential reset with China. India has historically maintained a cautious approach toward China, especially after the Galwan clash in 2020. In response to the face-off, India had restricted several Chinese imports, banned Chinese apps, and tightened visa regulations for Chinese nationals. But now, as Trump's tariffs loom, India may be considering a change in strategy. Here's what's reportedly on the table: reducing tariffs on Chinese imports, easing visa restrictions for Chinese nationals, allowing some Chinese apps to re-enter the Indian market. These measures could be an attempt to strengthen trade ties with China and create an alternative to dependence on the American market. However, cozying up to China comes with its own set of risks. China has a history of using trade as a geopolitical tool. If India opens its doors too much, it may become overly reliant on Chinese imports, which could hurt domestic industries. There's also the lingering issue of border tensions. While trade is one thing, security and sovereignty remain non-negotiable for India. Despite tensions, India's trade with China has remained robust. In 2024, bilateral trade stood at nearly $118 billion, with India importing significantly more than it exports. If India chooses to normalize relations with China, it must ensure that it does not become overly dependent on Chinese goods. While India is exploring alternative trade options, it is also actively engaging with the Trump administration. Reports suggest that India is negotiating exemptions or special trade deals to minimize the impact of these tariffs. Will Trump budge? That remains uncertain. So, the big question remains, should India reset its ties with China? Or should it take a different approach to counter Trump's tariffs? The answer is not simple. On one hand, stronger trade ties with China could provide a buffer against US tariffs. On the other hand, it could make India more vulnerable to Chinese trade malpractices. What do you think? Should India normalize trade with China to counterbalance Trump's tariffs? Or should it hold firm and seek alternative trade partners? Let us know in the comments below.